This is an AncientChess.com presentation. We're talking about Luca Pacioli's book, De Ludo Scachorum, which means of the game of chess. And this book was written right around 1500. The interesting thing about this is it was just discovered in 2006. It was in somebody's library, stacked away. Everybody believed it was lost or non-existent. And all of a sudden, my goodness, there it was. A book about chess written by the preeminent mathematician of that day and a good friend of Leonardo da Vinci, written when Leonardo da Vinci and Pacioli were staying in the same place, and much conjecture has been put forth that da Vinci may well have had something to do with this book. So, watch my other video for that information. We're going to look at some pages. I was able to download a few pages from the internet. I don't actually have a copy of the book, but I was able to find enough information to do a little bit of investigating. This is curious. See, there's queens set up like checkers, sort of. A lot of different kinds of explanations. We're going to look at a few of these. But I just wanted to let you know that some things are available that you can find if you just do a little searching. Now, here's a setup where they're just showing you the two sides, the king and queen, bishop, knight, rook. For some reason, there's a little discrepancy here. It goes king, bishop, rook, knight. They're out of order here, but all the rest are set up in the normal order, but of course only on one half of the board. And look at this. They actually have numbers in each square. 17-8, 19-2, 23-10, 27-4. Now, those are actually corresponding to this order of moves. This is the letter A. So from here you go to 1, from there you go to 2, there you go to 3, there you go to 4, there you go to 5. What I'm actually finding here is a knight's tour around the board. 6. So if you follow those numbers, pretty soon you come all the way down to 31. You start on A, first move was 1, your last move is 31, and you've covered the whole half of the board with a knight's tour. Interesting. This writing is very hard to make out. Now, I don't know if anybody has actually translated this. I don't know also why it's got lines going through each paragraph. But if you look at this, you can see that they seem to refer to the letters of the squares that are written on the board. That's about all I can tell. Hopefully somebody's going to translate that for me sometime, and it'll be very interesting. But even without having that translation, there's a lot you can see just looking at the diagrams. Now, here's something interesting. By the way, this little number over on the side always seems to indicate how many moves it's going to take to checkmate the opponent. So let's set up this scene. Before I do, let me introduce the cast of characters here. Here's your king. Here's your queen. Now these pieces are reproduced from the drawings using the information given in these diagrams. And so this would be a 1500 era chess set. Very interesting. Rooks. I'm sorry, I wasn't naming them all. Rooks. The knights are the ones with the little beanies on top. The bishops just have these smooth surfaces. It's not typical of all chess sets of that era. There are many different designs that can be shown, but this is what we've got. Now, I need you to know that the queen in the ancient move only moved one square diagonally. She was not like our all-powerful queen. So most of these that we'll be looking at have the queen's old move. And in that case, the bishop has its old move 2 squares diagonally. A very weak move. It can only go to 8 squares on the entire board. It's got a very limited circuit of possible moves. The rest of the pieces, rook, knight, and king, move as our modern ones do. And the pawns move like ours, except they don't have the double jump under normal circumstances. Okay, so let's just set up this interesting position that we find in this book here. It's going to be black being checkmated by red, and let's get these guys out of the way. Red, interestingly enough, let's see, they're going to have a couple of these down there. Red, interestingly enough, is in a position to checkmate, but is also in a position to be checkmated if they're using the modern rules. Now, if this has the old move that I showed you, this is not a checkmating situation with a rook here and a weak queen here. But if it's a modern queen, the rabid queen of the modern world, then this would be checkmate, or this would be checkmate, or this would be, or this would be. I'm expecting that that is probably the situation because that's a typical setup in a chess problem of this nature. Red is about to be checkmated. He has to checkmate black immediately before he gets it himself. So the positions of these guys are just this, right? Right. Now, interestingly, this just has A, B, and two C's. So A is the first move. What can move there? A rook can. Check. Now, these are knights, so his only possible response is B there. And here's move 2, C or C. C with the rook is checkmate. This knight is protecting this rook is protecting this knight is guarding the escape squares here and here. It is checkmate. Or the other C, this one, C to this square, that would be the knight moving here, and the knight is putting him in check. This rook is protecting this knight is protecting this rook. This square is blocked off by this knight. Once again, checkmate. So a very neat little scene, not extremely complicated or sophisticated, but it gives you a good sense of how some of these things run. Now let's look at a more complex one, okay? We've got the king here, a rook is here, a knight is here, a knight is here, rook here, bishop way over here, queen here, a rook there, pawns here and here, king is here, queen's off the board, got that rook. Okay, now he's got quite a few pieces. Black has one here, 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 and here. These are bishops, these are knights. And there's a white pawn over here. And I think we got it, right? Right. Now, this one also has A, B's, and C's, but they're only for the moves of the red pieces. So, white goes... Oh, by the way, this queen is obviously not the new queen. It is the old queen because black is not in check by this queen here. It only moves one square diagonally. So here we have A, check. Then we have B noticed. Oh, wait, he moves out of check. Where's he move to? Not here, not there. He must move. Oh, where does he move to? A, check. Of course, he has to capture it. Ta-da! That was this one, capturing like that. Okay, now B, only the red moves are written here. It's going to be checkmate in 5 moves. Check by the knight. What does he do now? Now that he has done that, where can he move to? Da-da-da-da. Oh, he can't move anywhere. He has to capture it with the rook. Boom. Okay, now C. Check, like that. Defended by the bishop, which jumps 2 spaces. Check here. This knight gets this escape square. This rook gets that escape square. And A, B, C. I said 5 moves, but, well, it's checkmate already, isn't it? Rook, knight, rook. Yeah, so that surprised me because so far the ones that I examined had that many moves, and I don't know why this square and this square are also notated. So, interesting, but a little mysterious. Okay, let's look at this one. Thanks for hanging in with me. These are interesting, and they're all different, and they're going to get a little more interesting as I go along because they demonstrate very particular things. This is all on one side of the board. See, many of these have a division line, so they want to demonstrate two different things on one board. This is the clever thing about this, is that all the pieces are in a line. So bishop is here. No, I'm sorry, bishop is here, king is here, queen is not there, pawn is here, bishop is, no, sorry, knight is here and here, rook is here, king is there. Now, it's cute. It's all in a line. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going to turn the camera so it's a little more better of an angle for you. There it is. And the moves are numbers here. Red's moves are in red. Black's moves are in black. So red starts by blocking off the king's escape square. Black has to move there. 1, 1. Red's move 2 is 2. Black's move 2 is 2. Square 3 for red is this one. That would have to be this knight. Check. Black's move 3 is this. Square 4 for red is this one back here. What do you think's going on there? Must be the knight. It could be the bishop if it's a modern bishop. It's got to be, I'm pretty sure it's the knight. Moves back there 4. Black has to move here for 4. Red's next move is 5. Wait a minute, where's 5 for red? Oh yes, 5 is check with the rook. That's a little silly. It could have been checkmate, last move with the rook. But they want to checkmate with the pawn. Okay, so he has to go here. That's move 5, it says here, there. And then finally 6 is checkmate with the pawn. And you see the pawn is defended by the knight. These squares are taken by this knight. All these are taken by the rook. And these are, of course, guarded by the king. So that's a cute little checkmate with a pawn. Not the most efficient checkmate on the board, but showing you something like that. Now, here's something that has a little bit of history, and this is what I find interesting. It's a very clever problem, but I'm going to show you a little more information about it once we get it worked out. Now this doesn't have a normal setup. I mean, well, it's kind of strangely normal the way red's pieces are all set up in their starting position, but black just has 2 knights threatened by pawns, 1 king over here, and 1 pawn. Pawn is here. And this time the squares have letters. Starting with A, we go to square B. That's a knight move. Now this has to be an old bishop because otherwise it would just take it. But as an old bishop it can only go 2 squares. So he's stuck. Can't move here. Knight there. Has to go here. This knight follows through. He has to go here. This knight follows around. He has to go here. This knight follows around. He has to go here. This knight follows around. See, there's just check each time. He has to go here. And then the pawn is checkmate on the spot right there. Knight is guarding those. King is guarding these. So that's very clever, the way 2 knights just route him right out of there. But what I find especially interesting about this is that almost this exact same problem exists in Murray's History of Chess right here. Now, Murray doesn't give a lot of information about this source. He says that it is a translation of a Persian work from India, if I'm not mistaken. And in his starting position, these pawns are back at their starting point. This guy is here. Those pawns are out like this. This king is a little bit different. He's going to be here. He's got an old moving queen here. And he has got a bishop here. Okay, so starting position is a little bit different. But watch what happens. Same thing. Knight takes this pawn. He runs away. Knight takes this pawn. He runs away. Knight here. He runs over here. Knight here. Runs over here. Now the ending is going to have to be a little bit different. Knight here, he runs over here. Did I have that queen on the right spot? Yeah, but oh yeah, because there's another check here. He runs over here, and then check from the queen. He runs here, and the old two diagonal moves bishop lays the checkmate down by moving there. Checkmate like that. So you saw that the route with the knights was exactly the same in this this other referenced piece here, and that shows you that these old puzzles and manuscripts, they weren't just invented by like one guy. They were translated and passed along through many different societies. The Arabs were the ones who did the greatest proliferation of texts, and the Europeans picked up later on down the line. Now, here's something else I want to show you, and first I want to mention that there's a grandmaster named Raymond Keane who is very active in promoting chess, and I just want to mention that he's got this book that I love. It's Illustrated History of Chess, and of course, you know, we're all about the illustrated history of chess, all chessmen, chess. So, very, very impressive grandmaster and promoter of the game. And he has taken one of these, and you may have seen this mentioned. He's gotten some publicity about it. There's been articles about it, and Susan Polgar picked up on it and has a mention of it on her website. Now, this is the original diagram, and this is the translation to modern pieces that he's got. But here's a real mistake here. This piece is the queen, as we have definitely seen in our review. He's got it as the king. This piece is the king. He's got it as the queen. Once again, the queen as the king, and the king as the queen. So there's a mistake there. So anybody who's getting acquainted with this, please take note that, you know, even a very sophisticated person, when looking at old materials, can make some big mistakes without just checking into some of the basics of where all this stuff is coming from. And along that line, a lot of misinformation and rumored information gets passed along about chess and chess history. And this is not a new thing. It's been going on for centuries. So thanks for listening. This is AncientChess.com. And, oops, excuse me, I dropped a pawn. If you like this, I hope you do, go ahead and click like. That helps promote the video. And welcome to my website, Ancient Chess. Look around at my videos and see what else I have. Thanks.